Hey everybody, welcome to another Audeze stream. Today is going to be the production things stream, as is our new Friday tradition. So today we're going to be looking at a couple things. Mostly this house music, which I'm in the process of mixing. There's a little bit that's been done with it. I actually think there might be vocals on this, but they haven't been tracked yet, so I don't have them. So, yeah, so we're going to work on just mixing the track itself. We're going to treat it as instrumental. We can always scoop out some stuff in the mids later and sort out that process. So, yeah, this will just be, I'm just going to talk about what I'm doing, play some of the tune, and give you guys an insight. There's a little bit I've done to it already, so we'll talk about that first. And then if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask me. I'll keep my eye on the chat. And yeah, we'll make it happen. For some reason, my video keeps freezing, and I'm really not sure why. There we go. Non-frozen video, much better. Anyways, let me fix the focus on my camera, because I feel like it's going a little nutty, and that might be part of the problem. There we go. Oh my gosh. So many cords tangled on everything. There we go. Okay. It seems like it's nice and sharp, more or less. Hopefully that should cease the camera struggles. Without further ado, let's just take a listen to what we've got already, and then I'll talk you guys through what I've done to it, and we'll do some mixing stuff. If anyone's interested in hearing a finalized version of the Ken Lewis mix, I don't actually have one, but we can work on one if you want. We can finish mixing that. I thought it'd be more fun to do something a little different, just because I don't want the content to get repetitive for you guys. Hi, Sin City. How are you doing? Nice to see you. As usual. Today we're going to be mixing something, talking about production stuff, all that sort of fun stuff. So yeah, let's just take a quick listen to this and see what we've already got. Sweet. Yeah. Glad to hear it, Sin City. This is kind of fun. I'm sort of digging this track. It's cool. It's cool. It's got a cool vibe. But that's the basic gist of it. It's kind of house music-y, repetitive sort of EDM type stuff. Actually, I made this one. I'm actually working on producing this one. So it's not finished yet, but there's some mixing that needs to be done before we go to the next stage. There's going to be some vocals on it, some other stuff. We might even end up tweaking some of the MIDI. I don't think there's any new parts that need to be laid down. So this is largely going to be more of like a mixing, maybe a little bit of production. And I wanted to talk about this stage because I think this is really, I think this is a really critical, cool, important stage for mixing. Because I have a lot of producers talk about this. Is like, when do you decide that you're done producing and start mixing? And for me, the process can kind of be, I try to not mix when I'm producing too much, but sometimes things need to be massaged a little bit. And they need to be massaged so that I can get in the groove to get the production kind of going more. This song is largely, the structure is there. There's an intro and outro that need to be done that are kind of sketched out. We're not going to be talking too much about those here. And then, of course, like I said, there's going to be vocals and a bunch of cool vocal stuff that's going to go on. But for now, what I want to do is I want to get this into shape so that I can have an inspired session with whoever's going to end up doing the vocals. It might be me. It might be one of my friends. We're still figuring that out. So we need to figure out we need to get this kind of beaten into a rough shape so that we can get a good vocal take, be inspired. And I think this is one of the most interesting, because you don't want to overmix things at this stage, but you do want to get them kind of groovy and vibey, right? So especially too, because, you know, if you have someone else singing it, or you're working with another vocalist, or you're working with another producer who's going to add stuff to things or tweak it, you want to make sure that it's something that will sound good as just a 2-bus track. So you can send someone an MP3, especially if you're working remotely, and say, hey, here, just take a listen to this. What are your thoughts? What's going on? So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Yeah, as usual, like I said, please ask questions. I'm going to be tweaking stuff. I might end up tweaking this bass MIDI a little bit, but most of what I'm going to be doing is mixing focused. So yeah, I think first of all, let's just take a look at what we've done first of all. So this drum bus is got a couple of things on it, actually. So I've got Purist console, I've got airwindows console stuff going on. I've got a compressor, transient compressor, a little bit of an acceleration limiter, some soothe on it, because I think it was like really, really punchy, but maybe a little too punchy. Soft clipper, just to keep levels in check. I don't know why there's 2 of these. We can remove one of those. Let's see. And then what's on the individual channels? This one is just a percussion channel with a panner, basically. So that's all that is. So that's all that is. Pretty much nothing done to that. This one is the snare. It's got a little bit of spiff. I tend to do this a lot, so this is actually kind of interesting. We should take a listen to this because I think you'll find this cool. So that's a snare, and I've got a bunch of pitching going on with the snare. So we've got just our bass snare sound, which I believe this is from samples from Mars, their LM1. And I love samples from Mars stuff. They make really, really good stuff. They sample old drum machines and other stuff too, but mostly old drum machines, and do really cool creative stuff with them. I believe I used Machine to sample this. Excuse me, and I just use Machine most of the time as a playback tool. I just play it right through Machine because I've got a Machine drum pad here that I really like. So that's an LM1. You can hear this on Prince, on old David Bowie, on stuff like that. So that's a Lin Machine. Then what I've got is I've got a chord, which it looks like a minor third inversion, and then a third and a fifth. Is that a minor third? Yeah, that should be, yeah, minor third and a fifth above, and then an octave above and an octave below. And these are all pitched and panned. So you can see down here I've got the pan. I love Repan. It's a really simple plugin, really straightforward. Super just easy. It's not pretty, but it's really easy to use. Gives you a lot of options. And let's see. These are just panned to different points in the stereo field. Nothing's 100%, but the bass and the top octave ones are both in the middle. So that's what the snare sounds like. So you can hear the difference between them. That adds a thickness to the snare. So if I didn't have that, here, let's listen to the drum bus without it. It's kind of, I mean, it's not bad, but it's a little too, it's taking up too much in the upper mid range in the song. So it gets more of that epic kind of like Born to Run sound. Down here, we've got actually a drum. Right, so that's kick and snare, and I think a clap in there as well. I've added some sub-synth. Love this Brainworks plugin. It's really cool. You can add basically sub-harmonics and different frequencies. The hardware unit's incredibly cool, but a little bit fiddly to use. So one thing I really like to do is I actually prefer sometimes the plugin because it's a little bit cleaner to use. It's a little easier to get a subtler effect. Almost always set it to smooth. Almost always have a little bit of low cut to tighten things up and kind of clean up. You know, you don't want, it can make some mud. So I kind of generally like to clean that up. You can hear it just adds a little extra oomph on the bottom end. Spiff, this is just for some transient shaping. Now Soothe, of course, a lot of people know because it takes out some of that harsh pokiness from things. But I really like Spiff because it just has a really, there's not too many things that make things punch more, right? And I really like things punching more because digital sometimes sounds a little too smooth. And so I really want things to be punchy. And also crafting things so that they're punchier and have more transient slap will make it so that I don't have to push my loudness into a soft clipper or limiter as much. So I can have cleaner audio with more headroom, more openness, less limited, but I can still achieve the loudness that I'm looking for. So Spiff helps me do that. Just makes things a little bit punchier. We can listen to it without it. Kind of just makes it groove a little harder. Just some basic EQ, cutting the low to get some of that mud out of there. Point, this is another transient shaper from Airwindows. Just makes things a little pointier. This is a very subtle one. Preponderate is interesting. Also kind of a tone intensifier thing from Airwindows. I'm still kind of experimenting with this one. I'm not really sure I understand fully how it works yet. But it seems to tighten up areas of interest. Like it seems to make certain frequency bands a little tighter, take up less bandwidth, less messy. Little gain plug in here just to trim off a little level because the levels were getting hot. And then this one is that one's just some snare mostly. I might cut out these kicks at some point because it might be making things a little messy. But we have just a high pass filter, Butterworth. I like Butterworth because there's not a resonant peak and you can make really steep curves with it. Then we've got the same pitch thing that we're doing with the snare, but we're doing with the clap here. We've got an octave below, a minor third, down an octave, and a fifth. So you can hear how that's changing. Sounds really thickening up and making that sound a lot more full. Right, if we just have the drum bus. It's too, right, it's got too much up there. With this, definitely more slap, more of that like fat snare sound. We want kind of a fat snare sound. This is just a chorus plugin. Give it a little more width, a little more ring, a little more depth. Howdy, Elidios. Nice to see you. Again, I recognize you. How you're doing today? Hope you're doing well. Friday, almost the end of the week, which is nice. After that, I've got some of Clear Mountain's Domain. This is a really cool plugin from Apogee. Good friends with the guys at Apogee. Love them. Wonderful folks. they were kind enough to introduce me to some of their plugins. So this one's really cool. It does, if you don't know Bob Clearmountain, he's a very famous mixer. He actually was one of the first kind of like celebrity mix engineers. He sort of started the whole like celebrity mix engineer thing in a sense. Amazing at, like, I've seen him work a board before, and he still works largely non-digital. He still works on an old SSL board with the crazy, he'll have like these crazy mix routing things where he'll have like vocal de-essings and vocal pitching through an eventide reverb, like on the fly, automating everything real time. He's crazy. He's incredibly talented, does great sounding mixes, did things like, you know, Born in the USA, Let's Dance. I mean, you can see a list of things he's done that are really cool. And he does a lot of interesting things with reverb and spatial stuff. So great plugin, really love it. This is just to get the snare to sound also a little more huge. Right, so that's getting us a lot of that extra slap echo kind of sound. 2C and 2F. For me, I don't know why my video is keeps bugging out. I'm sorry, folks. Gonna just turn that off for now. Anyways, I don't know why. 2C and 2F. So for me, 2 close back, slight dip in the lower mid range, which I actually like. And I mean, it's a closed headphone, so that sounds a little different. And then the 2 phaser, very smooth, liquidy smooth, real smooth top end, very nice tonal balance. Sometimes sounds a little funky in the very middle mid-range, a little hollow or something like that. A little bit less in the upper mids. I like the tonal balance of the 2 close back for audio editing, things like that. I like the liveliness and the transient response and the liquid smoothness of the 2F for music listening. 2 classic, pretty similar, you know. The 2 classic and the 2 close back are going to be pretty similar. The 2 classic, tad brighter than the 2 close back. 2 close back is a little more bass hump because it's closed, not as open, obviously. And then the you know, the response other than that to me is fairly similar. Just the 2 open is a little more open, a little more top end, a little bit less bass hump. So yeah, that's my take on it. Anyways, so Clearmountain's Domain. Let's just listen to this without it. So there's a big difference between the snare and between the clap. And when we put some Clearmountain's Domain on it. So that little hole that you kind of hear coming in when we don't have the big fat snare on top, that's making some space for some other elements in the mix that kind of scoops out a little bit. And that's the thing I like to do. I'll use a differently pitched snare, like a higher pitched snare or a clap or something like that to fill in where I normally would have the snare. And it gives things a little space to fill in that area with some bass or some groove or some snaps or, you know, vocals or whatever. It gives it some space to groove. You know, there's an incredible amount of variety you can get with a 4/4 drum beat, but manipulating what happens on beat 2 and 4 or beat 1 and 3 between the snare and the kick and the variation there's an infinite number of possibilities and a number of different grooves that you can get even just on a, you know, simple. Right, so that's all kind of cool. Like that a lot. I'm gonna turn my buffer up because it seems like things are getting just a tiny bit crackly. I don't mind the weight of the 2 close back. That's me personally. I have no problems with it. I do find, you know, something like the LCD4 pretty heavy. I won't lie. That for me isn't a huge issue for a music listening session, but if I'm doing something like production, I go with something a little bit lighter. So that's my personal preference. Oh, brother. Sorry about that. My, love that little double, the triplet thing there. Really cool. I live for little details and stuff like that. Like that's the stuff that really gets me. Obviously we've got a, that's a C. Yeah, C. And then we've got, so F minor to C minor, and then back to F minor. Sounds amazing listening to the pentatonic. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear it. This little piano thing is kind of cool. I think we've just got some good Hertz pan pots. We've got them panned hard left right. And that's a trick which I use. I think I showed in the other production video, where basically what I do is I take, you can even do this with just level-based panning. You don't have to use good Hertz pan pot. I just like this because it makes things a little more focused and a little more sharp sounding. So what I've done, right, is I've doubled everything, and then I've moved one back just a little bit. And what that does is it creates enough of a stereo difference between the channels so that you get a slight separation, right? So it'll sound like things are coming harder out of the left and right channels. And they sound a little funny because what I've got going on is I've got this gate on them. So I've got this cool delay, which I really like. Replica XT, great delay plugin, real easy to use. If I turn off the gate, this is what it sounds like. Which is lovely, but a little bit washy. It's a little too much piano washing around when other elements come in, right? So one thing, I might tweak that gate a little bit more just to get it so that I can hear those cool reverbs, or the cool delays, but not have it be quite so washy. I might also adjust the mix on this. Yeah. So, hey, Kokoto 5. Yeah, it's you know, you've got to be a little bit obsessed to be into this. And I've already heard this quite a few times, but you do get burnt out on it, and then you actually get quite a bit more objective once you kind of get used to. You're like, all right, this is, you know, whatever. But it definitely is. It can be fatiguing. It can be, you know, things can lose their coolness quickly. So I try to mix as quickly as I can so that I don't get bored with a song. So yeah, but it's a hazard of the job, so to speak. Channel 9, this is just some saturation to get things a little richer and warmer. It's pretty subtle, but it's there. This is a reverb, give some extra space around things. I would check the firmware update, the most recent update for the Audeze HQ app, because there should be a battery indicator on it. There was a one recently released, I believe. Ah, gotcha. Okay. Well, I will ask the team about that, and we'll see about fixing the battery indicator. I know that feedback has come in. Definitely something that I know the service team is aware of. So hopefully that will get solved soon. I believe also I think we posted about this on social, but there is a there's an update to the firmware that came out recently, and now you can update your firmware through the Google Play Android store, which was a feature that was requested as well. So that's come out. Check that out because that is up as well. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if my video will start behaving. I set it to slightly faster setting, so hopefully it will start behaving. Yes, no, we've heard that feedback. Sorry that's happening. Definitely something we will address and get on. Awesome. Well, we're glad to hear that you like it. And if you haven't already, email support@audeze.com. Let them know the problem you're having. All the feedback helps to get things done quicker if we know the problems that people are having. Reverb. So that's reverb. There's a little EQ just for shaping. Take out some of the bass because we don't need that muddying up our other frequencies. There's a little bit of a aggressive high cut to make it sound a little bit bandpassed, a little bit like telephony, right? Like when people put stuff in the background. Well, this is what the full bandwidth one sounds like. So it makes it sound things a little more lo-fi, not too lo-fi, but the definitely the not bandpassed one is it's very hi-fi sounding, which is a little bit too clean for what we're trying to go for here. I would update to the newest version of the app because it should say if there's an update. I don't know if you're on Windows, Mac, what you're on, but there should be an update indicator. Then this string bus, which is kind of cool. Actually, let's before we talk about the string bus, this is something that we may work on. Yeah, it's my quarantine due. I've trimmed all the stuff on the sides, but I haven't gone to get my hair cut or anything like that. So it's yeah, my hair is quite long right now. Yeah, I would definitely check. Like I said, there should be here are the patch notes. So if you don't have Audeze HQ as of is there a newer one? 225, which today is 3.5. So there's one that came out pretty recently. So definitely check because we had an update come out in the last 2 or 3 weeks because the 25th was... Yeah, so we had an update come out last week. So definitely check. If you've not updated Audeze HQ yet, download the new one, get the update. Might solve some of your issues. Yeah. So that is a low bass sub thingy. We're probably going to work with this a little bit. Now, it sounds a little bit out of time. One of the reasons for that is I play everything in my hand. So I haven't done any of this on the grid. And the reason, I mean, I've synced my tempo just roughly, just so that I can chop things into where they need to be. But I do everything by hand because it gives a little bit more organic feel to the tempo. Now, when you solo things, sometimes they'll sound a little funky, but in context, it sounds totally correct. And it will groove harder because we have more of a pocket of things pulling against each other. Like they talk about in jazz a lot, like having a pocket. And in this case, doing things off-grid by hand will give you a more organic feel to your music, especially done in the digital domain. Things that are totally on grid, totally synced, are a bit synthetic feeling to me. They don't groove as hard as they're supposed to, or as hard as they could. That's one thing I actually agree with Jacob Collier on. Almost nothing else, but that I do agree with him on. Thank you, Kokoto. We really appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, we're passionate about audio, and we do try and make our products the best that we can make them. We're avid headphone users just like you guys, so we want them to be awesome. So yeah, that's kind of what that sounds like. I might adjust. So we've got repitch also on this one, as you can tell. Love this plugin. Does all sorts of cool things. It's a very easy plugin to use. It's not going to give you super polished, awesome sounds, but it's going to really fill out things if you use it in a subtle way. You can see I've almost always turned down the wet between 6 to 12 dB always. You know, I never use full wet. So that's just giving a little high end to it. We can hear this just by itself. So then Thunder, this is another airwindows compressor that really brings out a ton of bass. It squeezes the bass in an interesting way. Listen to this. This is cool. So that squeezes the bass in just a really cool way. And I think it kind of generates some sub harmonics as well, which is very cool. It's a little bit like the sub synth, but it's a sort of gentle compressor. So I actually want to bring out more of the growl. That's why I adjusted the EQ. Let's see if we've got it right. A little too much of the... Let's see if that works. I was wrong. Always in the mix, you know, you think that's too high in level. There's a little too much of that going on. I need to have a little less of that. And then you put it back in the mix and it's always too subtle. So you gotta sometimes overdo things a little bit in a dense mix like this. Actually want to do is maybe just turn this frequency up. always a tricky one, right? Because you don't want to use a thing that has a Q which is too narrow. So that's another trick you can do is, I mean, you can do a resonant low-pass filter, but then you have to change the slope of how you do things. So one thing you can do is you can put a peak right before the resonant low-pass filter to emphasize what the filter is doing, but with more control. So whenever you filter anything like this, like a bandpass filter of any kind or a low or high-pass filter, there's going to be a sense that what is close to the filter is tighter, right? Because you're getting a sudden drop in frequency. So when you cut an area, right? So if I cut this area, it's going to make all the stuff around it seem louder, right? So if I cut here, this is going to be louder and this is going to be louder, right? And you can hear the Q of these things, right? It sounds smoother with a broader Q and tighter and sharper with a more focused Q, but it also stands out more as being, you know, up or down in frequency, cut or boosted. So here what I'm doing is I actually want to emphasize, I was trying to figure out where exactly the and it's not so much necessarily a frequency range, it's that I want to emphasize what's happening here with this low pass filter. Because I want that edge to the attack to pop out, but I also want sorry about that, guys. I don't know why my video keeps freezing. Okay. Should be better now. I might end up turning my video off again. I don't know why it's not doing its thing. Sometimes running a DAW and also running OBS, it doesn't like that at the same time. OBS just gets a little overloaded. Anyways, sometimes you want to emphasize what is vocals stand out more. What you might try is turn 3K down, actually, right? So vocal body is going to live in that 200 to 800 range. So you might try turning everything around that down, right? Turn the upper mid-range down and see what you get. You might get more body to the vocals. So anyways, I'm trying to emphasize what's happening with this filter to get more of that edge to the sound, right? More of the kind of stuttery sounding edge to the synth. And then I want to have the actual frequency range where it lives, that low mid, come out more. So. There's a part here in the bass that is sounding a little bit off. sometimes you got to experiment to find the note. With MIDI, sometimes it's a little hard to tell which note is off. So you got to just move each one and like figure out where it is. Because like you could move space between one note or another note. And so, like, you could solve the problem either way, but it'll give you a different result. So you always want to make sure it's like holistic and like fits with the better if we just took it out and made this note longer. Actually, this note needs to be longer. I have MIDI Plus AKM 320, which is the absolute cheapest MIDI controller you can find on Amazon. I also have a Juno 76 synthesizer from Roland, as well as an MP11 SE from Kawai. Actually, let me show you guys my messy room. But yeah, this is my little desk MIDI controller, and back there are both my keyboards. So yeah, I input all the MIDI by hand. I do everything MIDI by hand. So yeah, that is, yeah. When will we get a house tour? Maybe I'll do that for you guys. Like, somebody has asked for a studio tour before. So maybe I'll do that either next stream or as a video for our YouTube channel. If you guys would find that interesting. I am kind of a gearhead, so I do have a lot of cool, wacky gear in my studio. I do all the MIDI by hand. I do all the MIDI by hand. Sometimes I'll go in and I'll either increase the velocities or just equalize the velocity a little bit, or I'll nudge things where it needs a little nudging. But generally, I play everything by hand on a keyboard or actual instruments. Yeah, I'm very manual like that. I'm very much like a musician's musician. I like to play things in and get the feel right. Yeah, I think a little space there just fits better with the phrase. That's cool. It doesn't need to anticipate quite as much. It can lean back into the yeah. I do, yeah. I mean, I put out my own music. I've been working on this is actually part of an album I'm working on. Like I said, there'll be vocals eventually and more stuff, but we're just kind of mixing and tweaking some rough stuff here. But yeah, grover.neville is my Instagram handle. If you're interested, I'll be posting up some new music I've got there. I also do film and game soundtrack stuff, as well as, you know, more house pop music oriented stuff like this. So I like funk, like neo funk, weird house music stuff. So it's kind of what I'm into. But yeah, I do make it. I mean, I make all the soundtrack stuff for like the Audeze videos that you see, any background music, stuff like that. It's usually just stuff I've kind of slapped together really fast and lazily. But yeah. And thank you, Sin City. I went to music school and very much a keyboardist, singer, musician. I love playing live. So for me, composing and producing, I'm always trying to capture that feeling of a really groovy live setup, but doing things digitally that you can only do digitally, right, with the cool editing and whatnot. So yeah, that's something I believe in doing it, and it's more fun to me. I don't like inputting. I don't mind editing MIDI, but I don't like inputting MIDI by clicking on it. That's not how I relate to music. It's not a problem for people who do, but for me, that's just not how I kind of vibe. Let us tweak maybe this. So that is, what is this? Yeah, I'm totally with you, Cadet K9. I'm all about playing it in by hand. I'm fortunate enough to have had a great education and to be, I was self-taught originally as a keyboardist, but I'm fortunate enough to have I went to Oberlin, actually Conservatory, if you know it, really good school for music, played a lot of keyboards. I'm very confident in my keyboard skills, pretty much. If I could think it up, or you can write it up, or someone can do it up, I can play it. There's some pretty, some of the really, really crazy literature out there that's like ultra wacky modern music is like, I would have to practice a little bit, but pretty much, anything that people need played or that I can think of, sometimes complicated stuff, it's like, I can play it. So, if you're that confident in your skills, it's awesome. I also know producers who are like dudes with a Chromebook and, like beat making software that makes some really wacky out there stuff. So different music for different people. But for me, I tend to subscribe to the, play it in by hand. You'll get more of a organic feel. Like I said, you'll get more groove. You have more control over how things fit into the pocket. And it's just rhythmically so much more interesting. I love, syncopation and things like that. I have not, oh yes, I did write a book. Yes. Oh gosh, you found my website. Oh no, it's all over. So this is again, Replica XT. Love this plugin. Great for doing really, hi player 964. Great for doing really cool panning stuff and really cool delays. Energy Panner, really interesting, from Sound Particles. Sound Particles was the one who did that software that allows you to basically break sound into a bunch of particles and create like clouds of sound particles. And this was used on a lot of the Assassin's Creed games and things like that. Really cool for spatial audio. Energy Panner basically pans things based on how much energy they have. So this, and also the Brower Motion. My video is just freezing. I don't know why. I'm just going to turn it off. The Brower Motion plugin from Waves. I love these two plugins for all sorts of panning things. The Brower Motion one is better if you just need things panned hard, left, right, and manipulating things that would otherwise be automated. So it saves me a ton of time not having to do any automation. I can just hard, left, right, or I can do weird circle panning things. Really easy with that. Energy Panner is great for getting things that move based on their energy, like panning out more based on how much energy you have. It's great for giving life to strings, for orchestral stuff, or soundtrack things. Nice. EL8. I actually haven't listened to the EL8 that much, but everybody I know who has a pair says they love them, like just love them to death. So this Energy Panner actually is doing cool things. So normally binaural and stereo are kind of exclusive. In this case, I've got this synth running binaurally. So if you're wearing headphones, you're going to get a different experience with this than if you're on speakers, which I think is super cool. I like to mix the two because you get a different effect. Most people are going to be listening on headphones nowadays. I mix largely for that target audience, but I also make sure it sounds good on speakers. didn't want it to be quite so much, so I just brought it down. Yeah, brow motion is the shit. Excuse my language. It's just freaking awesome. I used it actually here in the percussion. I think I pointed out earlier. You can do something which I love to do, which is a really cool technique to do with percussion. Adds so much interest to songs. I actually should bring up another song that I've done it where there was like rattling drumsticks that alternated channels. And what you can do is you can set, actually save this to, I just loaded this back up on my computer. I deleted all my Waves plugins because there's too many. I didn't want to save a new file. Oh gosh. Set as default. Put it in the preset menu. There we go. As default ping pong. I was gonna write default hard PP, and that didn't sound right. Anyways, but anyways, yeah. So this is like. That would take so much automation. Even the Sound Toys Auto Panner doesn't do that. And it would be so much freaking automation. It would be so mind numbing to do it. So just being able to set that and just have it boom, boom every half a bar. Fantastic. Best thing ever. Love it. Going a little too quiet at the outermost edges. There's going to be some vocals in that, and they're actually going to reach, there's going to be a point there and a point over there where I do need things to be quiet. So that seems like it might sound like a little weird where it just fades out, but that's actually going to be important. There's going to be a stack there. That's fine. Also, Chaotic K9, if you like brower motion, definitely check out Energy Panner from, let me just plug this because I think these guys are really cool. Sound Particles, Energy Panner. So Sound Particles, website, Energy Panner. It's like not expensive. It's like $50, right? It's like not expensive in plugin land. Super great plugin. Love it. I didn't really find it used as much for their Air Doppler plugins. There's other stuff that does that well, but Energy Panner, I haven't found anything that does it. It works in surround sound and ambisonics binaural, so you can pan stuff based on the energy. Super, super cool. Love it. Very flexible. Can't say enough good things about it. If you like brower motion, this is brower motion kind of on steroids. Not as easy to use, but really, really cool. Definitely check them out. I bought it. I've used it on all sorts of stuff. I love it. It enables me to do so much with Soundstage. It's really, really fun. Oh, you found my book, Kokoto. Yeah, it's a warning. It's a little bit intense. So yeah. Anyways, this string actually. So I got this. This is from a Juno, Roland Juno synth. It's a string pizzicato sound. I don't think I've done anything to it. I might actually reduce the bandwidth on it a little bit because it sounds really open and good, which I love, but it might be too much. that makes them a little sharper sounding because I've taken out some of the 10K. Yeah, so that makes them, they're not quite as washy now. And I haven't had to do a gate or anything like that. I haven't had to take out any of the awesome, great sound. I might even make this a slightly... I love this 550. So the cool thing about DMG is that they've got all these different old, cool, desirable gear. And most people don't know this, but DMG is a better emulator for old EQs with like cool curves than a lot of other EQ plugins out there. 550, API 550, it's got a great, it's a broad, but it's got a resonant Q, so the more you pull it down, the sharper it gets. 88, Neve 88RS, best console I've ever worked on, super awesome. The 250 is a Sontec 250, fantastic also. Right, so they're a little fuzzy without it, so you can hear it's just adding a little sharpness to things. And what I might do is just add a little silky saturation to things. We want Neve, and we want maybe like a 35% drive. Some crackles, so I'm going to turn my buffer size up. I can do this from my main window, but it doesn't seem to like when I do that all the time. Case in point. Let's try this. All right. Oops. Close and reopen. Yes, all my projects have silly names. This one is called... that was my interface freaking out. Sometimes Reaper doesn't refresh when you change the buffer size always. So clearly some plugin was, or something was not liking what I was doing there. This should sound okay. Oh, really? Come on, man. What the heck? Let's turn all the plugins off first. For real? What's the problem? Too many things running is probably the problem. No, AS, and then internal. Boom. Ka-chow. Let's try that. Okay, geez. All right, I'll use 256. Oh, you know what it is? It's OBS. OBS doesn't like changing the buffer rate. Oh, well. Anyways, that was... Here we go. That also sounds really loud now. Output. Yeah, I decided to turn it into glitch hop is what it did. Or, what's that music? It's called, it's got some kind of not very PC name, but it's, here, hold on, let me look it up. It's called like glitch hop for ADD or something. I found this other name. It's like breakcore. Yeah. Yeah, it's called breakcore. Have you guys ever heard breakcore music? It's pretty... Maybe? There we go. This is... I promise I won't play too much of this, but I do want to play a little bit of it because it's pretty wild.
This is a journey into sound, a journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience. Stereophonic sound. So our journey takes us into the field of music.
4, 3, 2, 1!
Hello, I'm Razorco CJ, and this is my website. And this is sounds like...
So yeah, it's just like that for half an hour. It's pretty wacky. I can't say that I necessarily listen to a lot of it. It's not easy to listen to. But I found it the other day. It's pretty weird. There's a friend of mine who's real into it, apparently. Not necessarily my thing, and I listen to a lot of stuff. That still sounds gigantic. So this is always one of the interesting things about when you... Yeah, it's pretty it is pretty trippy. Someone just call me? No, I'm working. Stop calling me. Yeah, so it all needs to be taken down. So what we're going to do, this is a handy plugin if you need to take things down by 6 dB, which is like a common thing that I have to do. Bit shift gain from airwindows. This is one bit is 6 dB. It's free gain. Doesn't recalculate the word length. Just shifts down 1 bit. It's awesome. So like use it all the time. Great utility plugin. So that should give us our pizzicatos as not. That's all in level. Turn my master bus back on. And then this string thing comes on kind of suddenly, so I feel like we should get a transition here that's a little better. So you can hear when it comes back into the main groove after the string part, it grooves a little faster. These need to be more focused. We'll work on that in just a second. So like listen especially to the 2 bass parts. Right, it's harder when the strings are hotter, or it's harder when the strings are quieter, right, when they blend a little more. Because you can hear it. Actually, we're gonna fade these out too, just real gently. And then we need to fade this so there's no stutter. And actually, a thing I like to do sometimes is I'll add a little space here, just to make space for some other stuff. In this case, I think actually a harder fade out a little earlier. Sometimes it's okay to have it be smooth. I don't want this transition to be too sudden. Like there are songs where I've scooped this out completely and just left space for a hard one smack, but this song is supposed to be kind of a smooth, groovy, funky tune. So we don't want it to be too, it doesn't need to slap that hard. Like it should slap, but it doesn't need to slap that hard. We don't need Davey 504 levels of slap. Now these strings need to be more focused. I suspect that means EQ. Whoops, that's not what I want. Equilibrium. Probably pre-reverb, but we'll see. So that 4K is like an ear-piercing kind of place, so you don't want to usually boost too much there, but strings are really smooth there, so it's okay to do a little bit of stuff there. So that's subtle, but we're also going to want to... Butterworth, I like So sometimes I like to cut off. I usually, for a lot of mixes, I actually won't high pass anything, but I like to cut that off a little bit and then use just a really, really gentle saturation to make up for the fatness and to kind of take the edge off of the, let's try like a 45%. Oh, thank you, Kokoto. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's really kind of you. This might need to come down just a little bit more in level to like -6. So what I'm doing there is I was taking some EQ. So I scooped again out that 10K range, which is going to make the string smoother and sound bigger because I have auto gain on. So this is automatically compensating for all the boosts and cuts I'm making. Normally you'd only want to cut. Sounds better. 1250 is getting me a little more focus right in that upper mid-range region. Then this is also just clearing out any, you know, low-end gunk that I don't want. Then I've got my reverb coming in. I should actually put the reverb before. Then I've got channel 9, which is just a gentle analog saturation-y type of thing. Stop bugging me. I'm streaming. So the drive, this first drive, so up to 100%, is an algorithm called Spiral that Chris from Airwindows has used. Thank you. Oh, dude, I love the music from the Persona games. That means a lot. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So this is the Spiral algorithm is a very gentle, very clear saturation. Past that, it morphs into what he calls his density algorithm, which is a very dense, fat kind of algorithm. They're both going to add warmth. One is going to be kind of a clear warmth. Let me do not disturb. There we go. So anyways, that's what I'm doing is I'm making up for some of the thinness that I've taken out of the mid-range by filtering this and that resonance that you can hear there. It's kind of like it's a E4 or something like that, or E5, 3. Sorry, got my octaves mixed up. E3, and then E flat 3 and F, cluster tones, cluster chords for the win. Then I've got this, which you can hear now. It doesn't remove the resonance, but it softens it. And in a way, it kind of actually accentuates it, but I'm trimming things. I should actually probably trim this back to there. I'm gonna bring these down. Wow, these were quite loud to begin with. So I'm gonna bring these down in volume by about 4 dB. And more dB. So, and one thing I love about Reaper is that you can adjust the gain of individual clips. So I don't have to do as much automation. Automation is, for anyone who might not be familiar, so I can trim like volume or any parameters, plugins, anything like that. But I can trim that, right? And I can write points and whatever. It's a bit time consuming. It's a very powerful tool, but it takes a lot of effort. So what I want to do actually is I want to take down the volume of all these. Actually, I want to take up the volume of these piano parts. I do not speak Chinese, but I do. My mother is Chinese. I speak fluent Spanish, strangely enough, actually, which is the language I grew up bilingual in. So a little bit weird, but I had an interesting upbringing. Anyways, so I want to take up the volume actually of these two piano parts just a hair, just like 1 dB, maybe even less. This might even be too much. So that just focuses the groove, the yum ba ba bo dum, right? The syncopation, yum da 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 dum, chung chaka chaka chung gu 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 gu, right? It's focusing that a little bit more, emphasizing it just here where those pizzicatos are. Yes, she is. And here, I think we want to do the same thing. We're going to turn it up just a half a dB. This is a really small change, but it will make a perceptual difference. Una cerveza sin cebolla. Excellent. Yeah. Apparently there is an onion beer from Russia or somewhere in Eastern Europe, close to Russia. I've heard it's pretty stinky, but I don't know much about it. So. This is cool, but these are also too loud and need to be down a little bit more. we're just bringing the, oh yeah. Yeah. And they put onions in a lot of things in Costa Rica. They love their onions. Definitely a useful thing. Beautiful country, by the way. Really gorgeous. They don't call it Costa Rica for nothing. What time is it? 4:28. Okay. Wow. Chat has been awesome this week. So thank you, all of you. Phenomenal interaction from the chat. Really loved it. It makes this more exciting. I can be more excited. I can be more interesting and more fun. It's more fun when you guys participate like this. So thank you so much. We usually stream Fridays from 3 to 4 or 4:30. And Wednesdays at 1 p.m., both Pacific Standard Time. Wednesdays usually are gaming, a little more casual, Q&A, things like that. And then Fridays are more music making, production streams, mixing, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, feel free to welcome Q&A, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna log off for now because I got to do some other stuff today. But thanks to all of you guys for coming and making it awesome. This is sounding, I think, pretty good. Actually bring some of the drums back in there because I kind of like the weird funkiness of this. I don't know, we'll see. But anyways, yeah, thanks to all of you guys. Oh, you live in Norway? Nice. I have some really good friends in Norway, actually. Beautiful country, love it. But yes, we are in Los Angeles. I'm in Los Angeles, so let's see, 12-hour format. So it would be 1,300 hours Wednesdays, Los Angeles time, and 12, 13, 14, 15, 1,500 hours Friday, Pacific Standard Los Angeles time as well. I actually use on my phone, I have the 24-hour format, so I'm a little more used to that. But then in the United States, everybody uses 12-hour. But anyways, those are when they are. Thanks to everyone for stopping by. Had a great time. And yeah, we'll do more. I'm actually really looking forward to the production streams now. These are really fun, for me at least, to share with you guys. Anyways, have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you next time.